Hello, fellow travelers on the path of light. This is Damien with Builders of the Light Web, and I am going to be reading one of my pieces that was published recently on Mystic Minds, which is a Medium publication. And I'm going to be doing this periodically, probably once a couple weeks, reading some of my articles. And ideally, what I was hoping for to get some more followers, more readers on Medium. I would share it on YouTube, Facebook, on other socials, doing networking and all that kind of stuff that the kids are doing these days. So hopefully, if you like what you hear here, then you would, if you want to read more of my work, you can go to Medium, and I'm going to have the link down below. Under Mystic Minds is the name of the publication, and just Damien Sabuyan. Check out some of my work. Now, it's you can read Medium articles for free, but you only get 2 a month, I believe. So but for a very small fee of $5 a month, you can get unlimited access, and you can become a writer yourself. It's not that hard to get published. You can publish under your own profile name, or you can get curated. If you get curated, your stuff will see more eyes. It basically, well, because it's curated. So I recommend doing that. Looking for, like, if you write about like life hacks or life coaching or how to make money on the internet or anything like that, there's a whole bunch of different publications under the Medium umbrella that you can send your work to, and as long as it's not filled with a bunch of errors, and as long as the writing is sound and decent, they'll do a little bit of editing and they'll curate it for you so more people can see it. You can make money if you get enough followers, and all of that stuff. I know some people make $500 to $1,000 a month on this. I'm slowly gathering my own content to hopefully expand so that as an artist, as a writer, I'm looking to kind of do this full time. Not just this, other things as well. But so in order to do that, I have to promote myself and make these types of videos, and which I'm happy to do. So if you enjoy this piece, please check out my stuff on Medium. Follow me, become a member. It's super cheap. Like I said, $5 a month. You don't like it, you can cancel anytime. And anyway, so let's get to it, shall we? This is called The Awareness of the Pentagram. Most of my stuff is about the occult, the not the scary occult, but the light worker part of the occult, the tarot, astrology, hermeticism, alchemy, all of that fun stuff. So this is called The Awareness of the Pentagram, a simple, effective way to understand how the mind works through the interplay of spirit with the 4 elements. According to According to ageless wisdom, the pentagram is among the most powerful symbols in all of the Western occult traditions, in part because it encapsulates so many fundamental principles in a single image. You know, the pentagram, that's 5-pointed star with the circle around it. The word pentagram is derived from the Greek word pente, meaning 5, and the syllable gram comes from another Greek word, gramma, which means that which is drawn, a picture. The symbology that I would like to discuss for this article involves what each of the points of the 5-pointed star means and how we can use that symbology to help guide our meditation and affirmation practices. The star represents the 4 elements: fire, water, air, and earth, with a head, or the top point of the star, symbolizing spirit. So there's an image you can look on the internet, and I'll put the image below as well. So the star represents the 4 elements, as I said, with the top being spirit. While the 4 elements can be seen as representing the 4 states of matter, that make up the material world. For the purposes of this article, I'm going to focus on how they represent the four aspects of an individual's mind. And by mind, I mean the whole shebang, as you'll see. So, one aspect of mind is represented by fire, which represents the individual's personality, the sense of I am, or the ego, that which motivates the individual to act or be. Then there's water. This represents the individual's emotional body, habits, desires, likes, dislikes, and needs. Air is the individual's thoughts and thought patterns, ideas, concepts. And earth, which is the individual's senses, seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, and smelling, and the information provided by the senses to the individual. So those are fire, water, air, earth. That encompasses the entirety of the mind. A lot of people who work with astrology and tarot focus a lot of attention on the four elements or aspects of the mind. And we often neglect the most important aspect, the one that actually transcends the mind, which is spirit. In fact, I would change the name spirit to what it actually means in a practical sense, which I think consciousness, or even better for me, what word I like to use is awareness with a capital A. So awareness is who you are. Awareness is who I am. Awareness is who we all are. Everything is awareness, and yet everything else that's not awareness, that's not eternal awareness, is the activity of the mind. And when we're talking about the mind, there's the mind of the individual, then there's the mind of the minds of the masses of individuals, there's the universal mind. So those are all the mind that I'm discussing here. Another way of thinking about it is to think, I have thoughts, I have emotions, I have a personality, I have a body, but I am none of those things. What I am is awareness itself, experiencing the world of form. And the four elements represent the ways that we can experience the world of form. What the pentagram teaches us is that as long as we identify with our awareness, that top tip of the five-pointed star, we exist in a realm outside of form and therefore unaffected by it. Kind of like somebody standing on the banks of a river. You're aware of the river, but you're not being engulfed by it or consumed by it or rushed away by it. And at the same time, because we are awareness existing temporarily within the world, we have the ability to use the four elements of mind to help shape, mold, and manifest the world as our awareness sees fit. The trouble for most people and the world at large in this time period, known as Kali Yuga, is that we are not taught about who we really are. We are taught that we are the thoughts we have, the body we inhabit, the emotions that pull and push us, and the ego that pursues its never-ending series of unfulfilling desires. Buddhists and Hindus call this world Maya, which is the world of illusion or ignorance. Many people misunderstand this term, thinking that because it's an illusion, it's not real. It's real, all right. I mean, that's real. The illusion is that the world is fundamentally material and that everything is separate and distinct from everything else. So, me tapping this table, right? The illusion is that this is solid. We experience it as solid, but it's actually all vibrating molecules, vibrating at such a level of frequency that it creates a barrier. I'm not actually hitting anything. It sounds like I'm hitting something, but it's there's no actual matter there. It's all vibrations, right? Buddhists and Hindus call this world Maya, and I already read that. The illusion is that the world is fundamentally material and that everything is separate and distinct from everything else. The idea isn't for us to escape Maya necessarily. It's more about escaping the ignorance that Maya generates, which is the ignorance of separation and the root cause of suffering. It's the ignorance of identifying with the mind rather than the spirit of awareness. An analogy I like to use is the video game. A video game is real in that it exists and people can play it. Therefore, the video game is like Maya in that it exists, but it's not all that exists. Humanity at large is trapped in Maya because we've forgotten that this is just a video game. And it's a video game that's meant to help us advance to more higher levels of reality. Ideally, you want to identify as the person playing the video game, not the person in the video game. Same with the pentagram. You want to identify as spirit or awareness, not as the four elements. If you identify as the person playing the video game, then you know that when your avatar dies, it has no effect on you. You have more lives, more opportunities to learn how to play the game, and more opportunities to win at the highest level. But just like with actual life, it takes a lot of practice and go-arounds. It takes many lifetimes to master the game of life. But at the same time, who you essentially are, awareness, that never changes. Awareness is perfect, eternal, and all there is. Without awareness, there would be no world of form, yet without the world of form, there would still be awareness. You don't stop existing just because your game console breaks. So how to play the pentagram game. So the basic directions is you are the gamer here, which is just another word for awareness. The four elements represent the anatomy of your avatar. You use your avatar to navigate the game of life. So you pay attention to what your avatar thinks, feels, desires, and senses, and you guide your avatar to truth and understanding and awakening. That's sort of the goal. Avoid being led by your avatar's thoughts, feelings, desires, and senses. So you're not going where your avatar wants to go, you're going where you want your avatar to go. And you're taking in all the information that the avatar provides you through his four bodies, but you don't listen to him, he listens to you, right? So that's the idea in life as well. So here's more about how to play. So I'm going to break down those anatomies. I'm going to start with awareness itself. So the hardest thing to do is, for all of us, for the most part, is to identify as that awareness, because it's so subtle. We forget that that's who we are, that we're the watcher, that we're the witness, that we're awareness itself. So when we're stuck in the video game, we think we're all this. So that's why affirmations can be very helpful. So remind yourself, I am awareness, multiple times a day. Wake up with I am awareness on your lips. Drift off to sleep with the affirmation, I am awareness. The more you affirm it, the easier it will be for you to own this most profound of facts. The central job of awareness, especially at the beginning of spiritual practice, is to witness. Witness without judgment. Eventually, when you've mastered the witnessing aspect of that game, then you can level up to choosing. But we'll get to that in another video, another article. So that's basically one of the tips, one of the hacks for identifying with your sense of awareness, with awareness itself. So with how to play the game using your ego or using fire element is to learn to witness your ego rather than identifying as your ego. And first, and this a lot of times will happen once you realize that something is an ego desire, you might want to judge your ego, put your ego down. The problem with this is if you find yourself judging and being mean to your ego, then that's when you can be sure that you are now trapped in the Maya of ego, because awareness doesn't judge like that. Only ego does. So think of your ego as a pet or a child. who doesn't know any better. Nurture your ego and use positive reinforcements for good behavior, and set boundaries for less optimum behavior. Your ego is the part of you that is drawn to what gives it pleasure and repelled by what it fears or what triggers suffering. So, if you're identifying as your awareness, and your awareness has witnessed that the body is getting lazy and out of shape, and therefore your awareness chooses to cut down on sugar, you know that you're trapped in Maya if every time your ego gets a craving for ice cream, you're like, okay, I need to reward myself with some ice cream. And you go in and chow down on some ice cream, and then you're like, oh, I eat that ice cream because it felt so good at the time, but then it feels bad. Then you're trapped in the Maya of ego because you are being led by your ego desires instead of recognizing, oh, there's a craving. Well, remember, ego, we decided that ice cream is what's causing all this inflammation and pain in the morning, and some bloatedness in the intestines, which is a feeling that you don't like, remember? So talk to your ego, explain why to your ego that it's better not to eat ice cream rather than just saying, okay, we'll have some ice cream. And the ego can be very convincing about why you should have some ice cream. So those are opportunities for you to make some boundaries with your ego. All right, so, and fire is the element that's assigned to the ego. So water is the emotional body. So we all know we all have emotional bodies. The trick here is to learn to witness the ebb and flow of your emotions. Your ego naturally wants to feel the good emotions, like pleasure, and it will naturally categorize all its experiences as pleasurable, neutral, or painful. A rule of thumb whenever you're feeling any emotion, even pleasure, is to recognize that this too shall pass. You don't feel good forever, you don't feel horrible forever, you don't feel neutral forever. So the wheel of karma is also the wheel of emotions. There's a wheel of emotions within the wheel of karma, I guess. I don't know. Identify and accept all your emotions. If you deny your emotions, you are simply burying them, and they're going to come back later, much stronger, more powerful, and it could also lead to depression and all that stuff, and angst and anxiety. So it's very important to acknowledge the emotions, and when they come up, identify them. So, and here's some tricks of how to identify your emotions. Instead of saying I am sad, right? Instead of identifying as your emotions, say I witness that there is sadness. Thank your sadness. So one way to do this: thank you, sadness. I acknowledge you and release you to be transformed into pure, healing white light. Now, if it's a sadness that's not so easily transformed, if it keeps coming up, then it probably needs to be processed on the emotional level. So, which is fine. A lot of people think, well, if I cry or if I actually experience my emotions, then I'm letting ego win or something. It's if you stay in that place and you use those emotions to manipulate others or even yourself or whatever, then yes, then you're just being lost in the Maya of ego. But if you express them, to channel them, and to release them, then that can be very powerful and very, very healthy. So one thing that I do is if it's an intense sadness that I'm witnessing, I just let myself have a powerful cry. There's lots of music that will help trigger that, because I don't just cry just because I feel sad. Sometimes for me, I have to get something to get me there. And then I cry and I channel all that sadness, release it, and I imagine myself hugging my ego, petting, stroking his head, giving him a massage, all that kind of stuff. So it can be a pretty profound experience to let yourself feel your emotions. So that's emotions. Air, thoughts. This is one way to kind of relate to your thoughts from the perspective of identifying with your awareness. Learn to witness, there's that word again, your thoughts instead of getting swept away by the powerful currents that they represent. Think of your relationships with your thoughts the way a fisherman relates to a river. There's that analogy again. He doesn't plunge in with his fishing pole into the river, hoping that a fish will emerge on his line and he'll be magically spat out on shore ready for dinner. No. The fisherman sits on the shore, or he takes a boat out, he drops his line in. He identifies as the fisherman, not as the fish or the water. When he gets a nibble, he pulls in the line. He examines the fish. He's like, oh, if it's not the right kind of fish, or if it's too small, he throws it back. He is the master of the situation, not the fish or the river. He has patience, and he has mastered the art of discernment. So that's the goal of awareness when it comes to relating to air and thoughts. It's standing outside looking to see, is this thought worth pursuing? Most of our thoughts are not worth pursuing. Most of our thoughts are empty, vapid, judgmental, all those kinds of, well, I'll speak for myself. So, but when I get good ideas, concepts and stuff, then, I got a good thought here. Let's see where it'll take me. And, but there's always a distance between my awareness and the thought itself. That ideally, sometimes you can get lost in thoughts and get lost in identity. Then you're trapped in the Maya of illusion again and ego. So that's thoughts. Earth, your senses. So this is the most challenging one, at least for me. More than anything, our senses are what keep us attached to the world of form. It's through our senses that we experience most of what we find pleasurable or painful. Because both pleasure and pain are very powerful forces, it's very difficult not to identify with the body. And yet, we are not the body. We are awareness. Practice these affirmations to help you realize this truth. This is one of my favorite ones. This body is the perfect vehicle for expression of awareness. And I change that around sometimes. Sometimes I say this body is the perfect vehicle for divine expression, for cosmic consciousness. But it's all, in my mind, sort of the same thing. God, awareness, cosmic consciousness. That's who we really are. That's where we want our consciousness to be at home in. So that's one affirmation. And another one, when you experience pain, avoid identifying with the pain. And avoid using words that help you accentuate the pain. Like, I'm in so much pain. So think of those words. I'm in so much pain. That's like you're in the pool of water, and instead of water, it's all pain. You're putting yourself there. You're accentuating that experience, and you're potentially making it worse than it is. Instead, you don't want to do the opposite. You don't want to ignore it, unless you're really good at that and you've practiced and all that kind of stuff. There are times when that might come in handy, but basically you want to acknowledge it. You want to say, pain is being experienced. Then you ask yourself, what is this pain trying to teach me? Hey, pain in my shoulder, in my neck, in my hip, whatever it is. What are you trying to tell me? Because that your body is communicating with you through your subconscious. And often pain is one way it communicates with you. So it would be wise to not identify as the pain or with the pain, but to acknowledge, just like if you're driving your car, which is also another vehicle that you don't identify as your car, yet at the same time, you don't want to ignore all the lights that come on. Oh yeah, the oil light went on. Oh well, if I ignore it, it'll go away. No, the car's trying to tell you something. It needs oil. So it breaks down. You're going to be okay. You're not going to die. And ideally, because your car is going to break down. Just like if your body breaks down and gets ends its functions, your consciousness continues. So, but if you want to still exist in this body, you want to take care of it, you want to be alerted and be aware of its different signals and different ways of communicating with you. All right, that's a lot of stuff. So these are simple pentagram games. So remember, this is all related to the pentagram, the 5-pointed star, the 4 points: earth, or fire, water, air, earth, and then on the top is spirit, and that's who we are. We're a spirit looking down at our mind, right? Our body, our our mind body, our physical body, our emotional body, and our ego body. So that these simple pentagram rules will help you and your avatar, navigate the various levels of life. Eventually, it will lead you to a complete conscious awakening of the true nature of the self. That is the promise of the pentagram. All right, well, if you enjoyed this content, check out some more of my content. Go to Medium, as I said earlier, and I have about 30 publications up there right now. I'm writing probably about 3 or 4 a week. So thank you for listening, and be well. Blessings.